Yeah, for sure. What you're doing is really inspiring.
Yeah, no, that's another thing as well. I mean, the amount of people that are inspiring in uh, the mental health world, and especially around suicide, is just amazing because you just know they're not doing it for themselves; they're doing it for others. And anyone who creates something that is bigger than themselves is always, I think, inspiring, or it certainly is attractive to me to find out why they've done it or to join them, which is what I did.
Yeah.
So, I'm going to introduce you to Troy Coward, who's based in Perth. He's starting a very, very similar thing to Mosh, but it'll be in restaurants, hotels. The idea is there'll be a logo on the window of these businesses, and those people, in the mental health area, those people seeking help will know what these logos are about. And it's the same thing. They can walk in and they'll say a key word, and then the staff member will know that they need to speak to the qualified person there. And like you said before, it's not about, you're not there, you're not a therapist or a doctor, you're just there to listen, and then you can offer guidance or, a phone number or somewhere where they may need to call someone straight away or get them immediate help, or they just want to have someone to talk to.
And it's really important, I think, especially like one of the big things in this 2-day course that I run is to let people know that they're not there to heal. They're not there to solve problems. They're not there as a doctor or a professional. They're basically there to just be with somebody, to show concern and to show care, and to just let them know that there is other people who care about you. You are loved, basically. And you can do that by just sitting with someone and not saying anything. And the amount of times that people have said to me, the pressure that was taken off their shoulders when I said something like, you don't have to say anything. You don't have to know anything about mental health. You could be a really good mental health first aider by just stopping yourself talking and just sitting with people, just being with someone. It's a very powerful thing, sitting in silence with somebody, because one of the things about people in a mental health issue is that feeling that they're not worthy to be with others. They feel they have to fill that void and fill that gap. And it's a powerful thing to be able to sit there in silence and allow the person to talk, because once they finish talking and you allow the silence, they start going, well, I can be silent as well. And then a very beautiful thing can happen, which is just, you're allowed to calm down, and the inner voice inside your head isn't talking as much. And it's really important.
Yeah. And look, it is important. And obviously this is not the topic we're going to, but listening is something that I pretty much never did all my life, even as a kid. And that's what broke up pretty much most of the relationships, because it was all about me. What you just said about listening is so important. I know for a fact, and it's not an easy thing to own when you look back over your life, look at the relationships that didn't work and things with family members, and someone says, oh, you never listen, it's always about you. Go, shit, it's not. But then you sit there and look back, and I go back to as far as 5 years old, and for some reason, which I don't know why, but I didn't. It was something triggered me as a young kid, and it was about me protecting me never to be wrong again, not to fail school, to disappoint my dad, and that ruined pretty much a lot of relationships. And with a lot of the coaching I went through myself with Landmark worldwide, I came out of that going, shit, I have never listened, and it doesn't just go away like that, because even though you think sometimes that you're doing the right thing, and say to someone, "Oh, but this," and they go, "Oh, you're not listening again," and you go, "But
Yeah.
nothing's wrong." But it is. You're not listening. It's that simple, and that's really hard for me to say that because it is just hard. It's hard for anyone to own something. You think, "Crap, that's what I've been doing," and all these type of things are just really helpful for everybody. Whatever space you're in life. And what you said before, simply about just being quiet. Even if someone's angry at you and yelling at you, if you don't say anything, they run out of steam, and eventually they can't keep yelling at you because you're not replying. And then when things calm down, then you can have a conversation. Most times, I'm not saying it works all the time.
Well, I think you're right, Andy, and I think like if you ask any couples counselor, the by far the biggest problem that's identified with couples is that the other person doesn't listen to me. I don't feel listened to. The opposite side of that coin is that the other person won't shut up. But it comes down to listening, because most of the time the reason they won't shut up is because they don't feel listened to. So they feel they have to say the same thing again and again and again and again, and in louder volumes and in louder volumes. It's that first time that you actually realize and try and do something about it. I'll give you an example of how one of the first things I did to improve my listening skills. I noticed, like, I was in a relationship with a beautiful one, still am, and we were just talking, and she was saying that I wasn't listening, and also I had seen one of my members of my family, when they got drunk, that they tended to talk a lot and they got really boring. So we worked out this thing, myself and the wife, and I said to her, I said, "Look, whenever you think whenever we're out at a party, whenever you think I am talking too much, all you have to do is tap me on the foot with your foot. And no matter what I'm doing, no matter whether I think you're in the right or wrong, I will stop talking for 5 minutes." So we just made a pact. And that first month was a revelation for me, because I remember she tapped me on the foot at this, we were having dinner, and I was in the middle, full flow. I was entertaining everyone, talky. And she tapped, and I just stopped talking, thinking that everyone would go, "Hey, Eddie, are you okay?" And then suddenly, everyone started becoming more interesting. Suddenly, I didn't feel the pressure to entertain the table. Suddenly, I was part of a conversation and not the one dominating it. And it was a pressure, but to have someone who loves you in a very non-judgmental way stop you talking, that was a light bulb moment for me. She doesn't have to do it that often now, but I know every now and again I will be talking and she'll touch my foot by accident, and then I'll stop talking, and then she'll go, "Are you okay?" So, "Yeah, no, you touched my foot with your foot." And she'll go, "No, it was by accident." And I know also that she has done it just because she's just tired of listening to me sometimes, just tap your foot, and then I'll stop.
Yeah,
but
right.
I think you need a definite thing, like an external, someone who is not doing it maliciously, but also a definite thing like that helps to identify that you're not listening. Because the change in my connection with other people when I stopped talking was just it literally was a weight lifted off my shoulder. It was a revelation to me.
And look, it doesn't how can I say this? Like, everyone has a different, right? So, and this is not an excuse at all, but for my dad's passed away now, God rest his soul, and my mum. But all my life, I was against authority. I was against, like, anything to do with authority. Being told what to do, I would arc up. If I would get pulled over by a police car, just back in the day, maybe there was a light out on my car or something. The first thing I'd say, as soon as he walked up to the window, I go, "What the F do you want?" I hadn't done anything wrong, right?
Yeah,
But I would just. I had 3 patrol cars around me, and this was in Adelaide, by the way. It's still on my record. And I had, next in 3 patrol cars. Then the Pips, the big duty, happened to be out there because it was very close to the Adelaide police station. And he came up and he just said, "What's wrong?" He goes, "Why are you so angry?" He said he was only pulling you over just to tell you something, and then now there's 3 patrol cars here and you're swearing and angry. He said, "I don't get it." He said, "Just can I give you some advice?" He goes, "Can you just calm down, get in your car and go home, or I'm going to lock you up." And,
Great.
and
What a
that's
great thing to do.
and look, honestly, I'm not, because then it will be about me and I won't shut up, but there's 100 stories like that. And it went right through till, well, I'm 70 now. And it was probably only a few years ago, 65, I still had a fight with someone on the road, on the freeway in Melbourne. How ridiculous. Like, and I had to really stop and go get some looking into why, and it was nothing to do with my dad. It was just something that I took as a wrong story. Like, all he was doing was just trying to educate me in the right way and bring me up the right way. I just seemed to take everything in authority. I used to have so many fights when I was a train driver. Why would you fight as a train driver? There's nothing to fight about. But I can tell you, I had fights because there was something, and I thought I was okay. I used to tell these funny stories, but then I thought, you're an idiot. There's nothing to brag about there. What do you think? It's smart road rage, losing your temper. And then, you know what, the hard see like tattoos, right?
Yeah.
Those tattoos are a story, but you know why I got them? Because I wanted to look tough. That's all.
Yeah.
But now they do mean something to me because they all had a reason. But the reason I got tattoos like all over is I wanted to look tough. I remember as a young kid, I thought, oh yeah, I'd be tough. I want to be a gangster. I want to ride with motorcycle clubs. And none of that worked because that's not who I am. But this persona that I had to protect myself, like you said, had to protect myself. It didn't work. It just pushed people away. And I'm telling you honestly, it's a hard thing to say that to people. But now I can openly say it because I hope someone else out there hears it. And I'm still learning at 70. I'm still learning that a hard pattern to break. Let me tell you.
Well, I'll say 2 things about what you just said. I think there's a really interesting conversation to be had with young men about the difference between hard and being strong. And it's a difference that's really important. Hard is quite brittle, and strong, is quite resilient, and especially in the context of mental health. But I will tell you this, Andy. So this is a thing that happened, and it goes back to you being pulled over by the cops. A friend of mine, Owen O'Neill, he is an Irish comedian, and a friend of his, exactly like you, hates authority, loves fast cars, and he got this car, and he said to Owen, "Come on in, get in the car. Let's have a hoon. Let's have a drive. I just want to show you what the car is all about." So he got on the road, and he was hooning down the road. Next thing, cops behind him, pulled over. And this guy driving, exactly you, Andy, exactly you, doesn't do authority well. And Owen said to him, "Look, just be calm. Don't be yourself. Don't get all shouldery." So he says, "Yeah, fine, don't worry about it." So the cops pulled him over, and the cop comes up and he goes, "I pulled you." He said, "Do you know what speed you were doing?" And he goes, "Maybe about 70. He said, "You were doing 120 kilometers an hour in a 60-kilometer an hour area." And then the cop leans in and he goes, "What would have happened if Mr. Fogg had have come down?" And he just saw the red rising in his mate's face, and he goes, "Well, then Mr. Foot would have hit Mr. Brake and Mr. Car would have stopped." And the cop said, "I said mist or fog."